Welcome to my AS Media coursework evaluation. So on the left of your screen you will see the final 3 pieces of my AS Media coursework. I went with the dance magazine and I'm very pleased with how they've turned out, and I hope that you like them too. So before I even started making my magazine, I did some analytical research into pre-existing front covers, content pages, double page spreads, and I looked at magazines across a whole range of genres. I wasn't solely looking at dance magazines, as I know there's conventions that carry through each of them. So once I'd finished the analysis, I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted in my magazine, but here are some of my favourite sources that I used and have taken from my own coursework. This Kanye West front cover for Vibe was one of the first ones that I analysed. It was quite a striking one for me because I hadn't really looked at framing that much before I had started this coursework when I was reading magazines in my own time. But I noticed that Kanye was in front of the Vibe logo, and I really liked this as it sort of displayed a sense of arrogance, and it sort of showed that Kanye was bigger than the magazine itself, and that was something that I definitely wanted to carry through into my own piece. I also noticed of the quote under Kanye's name where he says, "I am rap." Now this is quite a bold statement, and it's something that potential readers would want to sort of invest into, and something that they might want to buy the magazine for, just to see what Kanye says and why he said that. Now I tried to incorporate this into my own piece of coursework by having a statement that can be seen as quite negative or dramatic, but really when you read the article it's just a fun, jovial play on words. Mixmag was a magazine that I had to look at very carefully to observe the conventions of what makes a successful dance magazine. By this point I knew that I want my cover star to wear a bag on his head. Now it's a bit of a weird idea, it's a bit out there, but I knew that I could develop a good backstory around him. I knew that I could make him seem quite mysterious through the article, through my taglines, through all of that sort of stuff. So I wanted to make him a mysterious character, and I wanted to make him sort of a bit unknown. So when I found this R.L. Grimes front cover for Mixmag, I thought that it really encapsulated everything that I wanted in my own front cover. So I particularly liked how he blended into the black background with his jumper. So that was quite a good effect in making him mysterious and dark. I'm going to say mysterious quite a lot because that's what I was aiming for. But I did like how he blended into the background, yet his face with the grayscale stood out. And I knew that with a brown paper bag on my artist's head, I could make him stand out against such a dark background. Although Bags isn't as blended into the background as Grimes, it's his bag that does stand out against the dark background, and this was a stylistic choice that I took from the magazine. Another thing I took were the bright accents that add vibrancy to the dark background. Now it's very easy to have a dark and mysterious background for your artist, however it's not going to stand out on the shelves. And so by adding the bright colours, it's going to really appeal to people scanning the shelves and they will find your magazine. I added this vibrancy by using the blue and white fonts for the main banner and also the side stories. This Jamie XX shoot for Mixmag really inspired a lot of what my coursework ended up being like. I liked how Jamie was wearing black against this bright colourful background, and that created like a void of colour which instantly drew my eyes to him. So I wanted to include this, however I knew that for the front cover I wanted my artist to be mysterious. So instead I translated this into a double page spread. So for the background I used the same blue as I used for the front cover's font. I copied the Jamie XX style by having a solid colour in the background. So when the reader compares the front cover to the double page spread, they'll see 2 different sides to Bags, and that was something that I really wanted to play on. On the front cover they'll see the dark and mysterious, there it is again, they'll see the dark and mysterious side to Bags. They'll see a guy who is a bit unknown, a bit edgy, and then on the double page spread they'll see the bright, vibrant background, and that'll make him seem a bit more happier. And that is something I really wanted to play on. Like I said, I wanted to have the 2 different sides to the same person feel to it. For my double page spread I took even more inspiration from the Jamie XX article, and I really did like how there was 3 different images of the same guy. In trying to recreate this effect I took 3 different images but I've only ended up using 2, as I really do like the effect that I've created with having the 2 outer bags as mirrored and facing in on each other with a separate bags photo in the middle. Now this adheres to the rule of thirds, which I will get into in a bit later on, but it really does draw the reader's attention straight to the image. Q is my main inspiration for my contents page, as it was clean, simple and easy to understand. The banner along the top and the simple column of stories proved really successful for my magazine, as it presented my stories in a orderly fashion and it gave emphasis to the stories that I would be pushing forward as the main stories within the magazine. I also took the large number from the bottom of the picture, as it was really useful in showing the readers who the people were in relation to their story within the magazine. Another feature I included in my magazine was a semi-transparent box where the text sits. So the semi-transparent box really makes the text stand out, and it also breaks up the blue colour in the background. And if you observe Bags' logo from the front cover, you'll see that I've actually recreated the blue shadow on the headline of my double page spread article, and the blue from the shadow actually bleeds into the blue background of the double page spread. And I know it isn't the most exciting or the most noteworthy part of my magazine, however it's something that I do really like myself. As my magazine focuses on a target market of 18 to 30-year-olds, the youthful musical genre of modern underground dance music demands some key conventions. Magazines nowadays are a lot less popular, and this is mainly due to the internet being able to provide the same level of information but just for free. This means that an engaging magazine nowadays must be both bright and colourful in order to encourage potential customers to buy their magazine rather than reading the same information on the internet. When I was looking at other dance magazines, I noticed that a lot of the images were male dominated and that any female pictures were normally sexualised. While I don't particularly agree to this, I wanted to adhere to the conventions of my chosen genre, and because of this I have only male photos within my magazine. I focused my magazine on the lower to middle classes, as they make up the vast majority of the UK's population, and so by appealing to them I have the potential to market my magazine to the masses. I also use a variety of costumes on my contents page, with the top left image showing a young man wearing a streetwear hoodie and a pair of jeans and trainers. That's a fashionable style at the moment for young adults, so it'll indicate who the magazine is directed at. So if I were to distribute my magazine, I would go with Frontline. Frontline not only publish music magazines such as Mojo and Kerrang, but they also publish other leisure genres such as Gardener's World. So although we don't share many similarities, they have a good broad sphere of influence. Now this sphere of influence would allow my magazine to be distributed between 55,000 retailers in the UK and Ireland combined. This would be beneficial for me, as I want my magazine to be physically printed and distributed within the UK, with digital downloads being available worldwide online. These digital downloads would be very important, as digital publications are actually gaining favour over physical prints due to the rise of smartphones and Kindles. I use cookies to target those who either follow or like a page that is of a similar nature to that of my magazine. This way I know that my marketing is targeting those who are most likely to buy my magazine, and it will increase the overall awareness of my magazine. I'd also use Spotify playlists as the main source of traffic, as if I update a playlist with the artists that are within my magazine and then advertise the playlist on Spotify, and this would bring more traffic to the magazine via proxy. So what do you like about my front cover and why?
I like this picture there. He adds a good element of mystery to it. You don't really know who he is. It sort of plays a part of the bag covering it up. But I don't really know what it's called. Like, the bags is a bit too big maybe. Like, the liquid needs to be a bit more prominent there, so you know that that's the title. I like the colour scheme of this. It's really strong blue, uses it really well. But I think that picture there, the main image, is very similar to the front cover image. It's like pretty much the same as the bag. But I do like the colour scheme. I like the quotes there, not really break up the text, looks quite easy to read. But I think them That picture there is a bit too uniform. It's a bit of like the same picture, just 3 times.
Yeah.
The background's a bit bland, a bit bold.
As I've created a unisex magazine for 18 to 30 year olds, I took a small sample of my target market and asked them what they liked about my magazine. Here's what they said.
I am a prolific raver, and I can confirm the colour scheme is lush.
I'm 18 and this magazine appeals to me because of the genre of music.
I like to have the cover start slightly off the page. It adds an element of mystery.
As you saw, my magazine received some positive feedback. This is mainly due to me analysing pre-existing magazines beforehand to see what made them good, and also having regular checkups with my target market as I was creating the magazine. Through this I was able to see if they were liking what I was making or if they thought I could have improved anything. This was also the case when I created my rough cut, where I asked some people in my target market what they thought, and then they gave me some advice as to how to improve it. I received some advice on my rough cut about how my artist's title was a little bit too big and it interfered with the main banner of my magazine. I was also told that the close-up on the contents was too similar to that of the front cover. Now, I knew that I wanted the front cover to stay the same, as I liked the overall framing of the image. So I went back to the drawing board and I got a new photo taken of my model in a mid-shot position, and this was what I used in my final cut. The language used throughout my double page spread was carefully chosen, as it's very important to have language that appeals to your target market and that is relatable to them. By using language that they would use themselves, it gives them the feeling that the article was written for them. This would inspire them to become loyal customers, and in the end of the day it just means more sales. Phrases such as beatmaker and drop the new mixtape are all semantically exclusive to the dance genre, and this language is not normally used in everyday life. For taking my photos I used a Nikon D5100, which shoots photos at 16.2 megapixels. Now this was bigger than the print size for my InDesign project, so this meant that when I took an image I had to scale it down in order to fit it on the page. This is good, as if I had to scale up my photos I would have lost all of the quality and it would have made my magazine look really unprofessional. As I was using external lighting for my project, I had to be mindful of the exposure of my photos. So that meant using a relatively fast shutter speed and an aperture of around 4 to 5.6. Because of this I was able to capture my model in just the right brightness so that he wasn't too dark, but he was just light enough so that his bag stood out against his dark black tee. In the weeks leading up to our coursework we were taught some basic skills and tricks as to how to achieve our final product. An important tip that we received, I've actually already talked about, it was the rule of thirds. Now the rule of third is based around people's areas of focus and where certain features should lie. If I were to put a 3x3 rectangular grid upon my double page spread, you'd see that my article takes up the lower 2 horizontal segments of the page, with the main headline being in the upper segment. Then if you look on the opposite page you'll see that the photos that I've taken take up the 3 vertical boxes in the grid. This shows that they're the main focus on the page, and it's also something that I had to keep in mind when I was framing my shots, as sometimes I needed to accommodate more space. Adobe Photoshop was our photo editing software of choice, as it has all of the tools that we needed to create professional looking images. I primarily used the masking tool for my project, as I wanted my cover star to be on a background of my choosing, and so by having a layer purely dedicated to him, I was able to place him against a background of my choosing. Once we've taken our photos, we put them into InDesign, which helps set out our magazine. We used frames to put our photos and text into some boxes, and it was then that we could move them around and we could try out some new layouts, and I took a lot of time reshuffling my front cover mainly, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without the frame tool in InDesign. To record our work we used a website called Blogger, which acted as a platform for us to share our progress and to also develop our analytical skills, as we did some blog posts on what made our pre-existing sources good, and then we could also analyse our own works. And then to edit this video I used Sony Vegas Pro 13, which is a comprehensive and easy to use video editing software. I have had prior knowledge of how to use this. I've used it for a few years now. It's not too tricky to get your head around once you know what you're doing, and it's got all of the tools that I needed to help make this video, so hopefully it's turned out good. Looking back on my preliminary task, it's quite funny to see how far I've come in terms of framing and lighting in particular. They're probably the two main things that I've noticed. When it comes to framing, my cover star is a lot further down the page than he should be in my preliminary task. When you compare it to what I've done in my final piece, you can see that the cover star takes up pretty much the whole vertical height of the page, and I think it's a lot more effective that way than having the cover star a lot further down the page. So going back to the rule of thirds, I think I've really improved on that, and lighting as well. I've learned how to use lighting effectively, especially in studios, as the preliminary task was taken outside using natural light, and the front cover for my main final piece was taken in a studio. I've also been able to improve on the layout of my contents page, as if you look at my final piece, you'll see that there isn't any empty space that's left compared to my preliminary task, where I have the one photo and then I've got a lot of empty space. I combated this by putting in photos, some with backgrounds, some without backgrounds, and I think that's given a good effect onto the overall result of my contents page. Empty space also ran into my double page spread, although this time it's just for my rough draft, as we didn't do a double page spread for the preliminary task. You can see from my rough cut that there was just a solid block of blue behind the article and across both pages. Now this was quite boring, and I thought it was going to look striking and bold, but when I changed the pictures around, it all just seemed a bit plain. So I actually took inspiration from Eddie Van Halen and his guitar, and I put in some white lines on the background, just scattered them about, and it came out really well. I was actually really surprised with how well it came out and how nice it looked. And then we put a glow effect upon the lines to replicate strobes, so it sort of like looked a bit like lasers, and that really fitted in well with the dance genre of my magazine. Through my time doing my coursework, I remained on schedule for doing my photos and for creating my pages, and I did this by creating a week by week program of what I wanted to be doing. So that gave me the time to organise times with my models and then plan around them, and then when it came to actually taking the photos, I could see if the equipment was ready for that day. So that worked really well. I didn't run into any bother with that, and I would recommend doing it for anybody else that is taking a media A-level. So thank you very much for watching this evaluation. I hope that I've answered all the questions you may have, and yeah, I'm very pleased with how my coursework has ended up, and I hope that you'd like the look of it too. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.